Hello and welcome back to the third take of this installment of the Game Time Decision Podcast presented by Guy Boston Sports. This is the second edition of the Guy Boston Sports presented Game Time Decision, one of the many Game Time Decision podcasts. But this is my third time recording it because of technical difficulties, issues with my iPad, issues on my phone, getting a call in the middle of a podcast while recording it on my phone and having someone completely ruin it, and I tried to edit it and it's not good. I suck with technology. But we're back. Sorry about a delay in podcasts in general. I was in the process of moving homes. There was no Wi-Fi for a week. Haven't been able to write anything or do anything in terms of the website. And I've been working. I have work tomorrow. I had work earlier today, but I got out early. So today is like the only day I could do something. So we're back, and we're just going to get right into it. The Red Sox game is going on right now. Craig Kimbrell is about to enter the game, so I just walked in. It looks like it's the ninth inning. And the Red Sox are on the verge of a 4-game sweep of a minor league baseball team. The Chicago White Sox, who are a complete disgrace right now. Beautifully run team. Rick Hahn, also known as Genghis Hahn, has done a tremendous job building this team, tearing it down. Is going to rise from the ashes like a phoenix and absolutely just take baseball by storm, kind of like the Houston Astros. But right now, honestly, I really wanted to do a podcast laying in to the Red Sox because they have just been, before this streak, they had been pitiful. After the 4th of July, the team was straight garbage. No other real way to describe it. They were really underwhelming to watch. But now they've been playing better as of late. And the first thing I want to say is don't read too much into this. The White Sox are a terrible team. You're playing at home. The White Sox, going back into the offseason, they got rid of Sale. Heading into the season, got rid of Quintana, Todd Frazier, Tommy Kahnle, David Robertson, Melky Cabrera. The whole team was gutted, like complete fire sale, and they have a great farm system. They'll be great in 2020, I think, but this could just be a false sense of hope for a struggling team in the Red Sox beating up on a truly terrible team. But it was a good time to build a little cushion over the Yankees and be able to play some good baseball, get your feet grounded, and build up some confidence. One thing I really want to talk about, which I haven't gotten to because it's been so long, has just been how great Eduardo Nunez has been. Another home run today, and he's batting, I think, .440 since being with the Sox, and he's been driving the ball, game-winning hits, and he's been everything you could have hoped for. If you didn't see the name or see the physique or see the batting stance, you would think the Red Sox pulled off a trade for Giancarlo Stanton. The way he's been driving the ball, being clutch. Obviously, this isn't going to last. He can't obviously bat .400 for the rest of the year, but he's just been the energy this team has needed. And pair that along with Rafael Devers, it's really been a perfect infusion into this Sox lineup to give them some life, because that third base was devoid. It was a black hole. With all due respect to the great Tsunami, Tzu-Wei Lin, and Devin Marrero, having Nunez and Rafael Devers as the combination there, and then obviously Pablo Sandoval, who lost 2 games, -1 WAR. It's just been really great to see contributions coming from that part of the lineup in that position. So that's really been encouraging for Red Sox fans. So one thing that I can say about this streak in the past 10 games, even though it's been this series has been against lackluster competition, we still did play the Royals and Indians. But about this stretch, this homestand, is that we were able to see real strides made by Devers, who obviously is the future of this team, and Nunez, who brought in by Dave Dombrowski, and did a good job. And I'm looking to write an article on this. Hopefully I can get it done tonight, but if not, I have work tomorrow, so hopefully I'll get it done by Tuesday. Looking at the deadline and going into the deadline, I had given my confidence index on a scale of 1 to 10 for Dave Dombrowski to do the right thing. On a scale of 1 to 10, I gave him about a 3. And now, looking back at the deadline, if I were grading him, I would give him a 9. I don't like to give Dombrowski credit. I don't like him as a GM. But looking at what he did, whether it was a mandate from ownership or not, bringing in good veteran players, solid clubhouse guys like Nunez, without surrendering top prospects. Between Addison Reed and Eduardo Nunez, obviously, we did not give up a prospect higher than number 18. And that's huge. Nunez, obviously, we've seen what he's done. He was an all-star last year. Bit of a fluke all-star. I call him like a Brock Holt all-star, meaning like someone needed to be represented from the team, and he was it. And he was playing well, but he's obviously not a stud player, although he's looked like it. But in all seriousness, he's just a solid veteran upgrade and better than Pablo Sandoval, and way better. So that's really good. Nice to see. Devers has been unbelievable, but now obviously looking at another addition, Addison Reed, giving up 3 prospects, I think 18, 23, and 28 ranked. I'm not going to get into the guys because as much as I love prospects, after you get outside like the top 15, I'm kind of like, who? And I just go on Baseball America, go on MLB Pipeline. Oh, he does this, he plays this position, whatever. But solid moves. I did write articles about both Reed and Nunez, so you should check those out back in the archives of Guy Boston. My first 2 articles, actually. Hopefully 2 of many. But watching this team as Kimbrel looks to dominate this lineup, which he should because it sucks, and he strikes out another guy. Not to get into the play-by-play rut, but looking at this team, I hope this really is a launching point for them to say, this is the stretch run of the year. We don't want to lose games to teams we shouldn't lose to. We don't want to have to go and play in a play-in game for the wild card. We want to win the division. We want to have home field in the ALDS, and then we're going to go probably in all likelihood take on Houston or maybe the Yankees again for the first time since 2004. But now it's just nice to see the Red Sox win some games and build a cushion and look like a team that has heart and character and talent, which obviously we know they are talented, but we just need to see them continue this for the next 5 games. We go on the road to face Tampa Bay and New York, which is absolutely huge. One good thing, though, is we have an off day tomorrow, Monday, and on Thursday. So Chris Sale will be available to pitch in both series versus both division rivals. And also, I think John Farrell had stated that Chris Sale is scheduled and lined up to pitch in all of this against the Yankees in each series for the remainder of the year, and the Red Sox win. So just to give you a little time frame of when I'm doing this podcast, 4-13, game just ended. Go Sox, we won. That completes the 6-game win streak. Shout out Doug Fister for the win. But I always get off track. Just so you guys know, I have ADHD. I'm like a little squirrel. Look around, ooh, a nut. Little something happens. Up, win, dance, repeat. Chris Young, who hit 2 dingers today and a double, he's doing a little stupid dance while Benintendi does his stupid phone thing. Whatever. I have ADHD. I'm all over the place. But bear with me. Red Sox just won. But Chris Sale pitching in every series against the Yankees for the remainder of the year, which is huge. He needs to come up big. He needs to be Chris Sale. And speaking of pitching, obviously I have complete faith in Chris Sale. But another guy I'd like to talk about is David Price. Obviously, I don't remember if I hit on this because it was so long ago, but David Price battling with Dennis Eckersley and yelling at him, swearing at him, cursing him. I'm not going to get into it. If you listen to talk radio or listen to anything sports related, that's all that was talked about. Pretty much. David Price, though, on the field, he is a very good pitcher. Talent-wise, he's probably top 5 in the American League. At least top 10. He's only 31. And obviously he has postseason struggles, but last year, even though he had a high ERA by his standards, 3.99, he took the hill every 5 days, and he was able to really give this team stability in the rotation, with obviously Rick Porcello coming out and winning the Cy Young. But Price, one thing that has stood out to me, and as much as I hate him, as much as a whiner and a phony and a mentally weak puddle that he is, he's been playing in Boston and he hates it, but he's still been able to perform well. Obviously, he hasn't looked like the David Price we were used to seeing in Tampa Bay or in the stretch run in Toronto, but he hasn't been Pablo Sandoval bad. He hasn't been Edgar Renteria bad. He's able to pitch well in Boston, and outside of 2 starts where he gave up 5 and 6 runs, and one of them was the start before he got hurt against the Angels, he had been pitching very well, and he still has a 3.82 ERA, which is respectable. And outside of his first 6 starts last year, his ERA has been under 3.5, and he's been winning games. So he is capable of pitching. He just doesn't like it. And barring Tommy John, which I hope he does not have to get, even though some vindictive Red Sox fans want him to, he probably will opt out of this contract. And I would label that as a win, because you get David Price 3 years, a heavy dollar amount, but you're not tied into him for the remainder of his career. And I think he would take a discount to get away from Boston. So he would have 4 years, I think $124 million remaining on his deal. I think he would take $4 and $1.10 to get out of Boston. But that's besides the point. I really think that we need him to come back and pitch well to fortify our chances, because as much as a disappointment he's still probably the best number 2 starter in the American League. You go down the teams other than maybe the Indians with Carrasco and Salazar following Kluber. You go down the list, he's probably the best number 2 starter in the league. And despite playoff struggles, he's important for the remainder of the regular season in securing the division, and maybe he can pitch well in the postseason, which obviously isn't likely, but he's talented enough to do well. So that's kind of my points on the Red Sox. Just wrap things up. Solid series against the White Sox. Took care of business. Now, if we can win 3 out of the next 5 against the Rays and Yankees, that would be huge. But as I've always said with the Red Sox this year, it wouldn't surprise me if they lose their next 5. Wouldn't surprise me necessarily if they win their next 5. Just like I said, looking forward into the playoffs, if we're fortunate enough to make it, which I think this has really buoyed our chances. Little nautical term for you. It would not surprise me in the slightest if this team gets hot and is able to win it all. Just as it wouldn't surprise me if the team gets cold and lays an egg and loses in the first round, or even in the wild card round, if we in the wild card playing game, if we struggle at the end. So this team that you really have to watch, because you can't take anything for granted, and anything really could happen. And it's just nice to watch September baseball, and hopefully we'll have a chance to watch October baseball. And now on to the second segment of this podcast. As I cough, and I need to step away now. Sorry about that. The Patriots. And a little flashy thing, a little title, which will probably be on the title of this podcast, so just keep your eyes peeled for when it's up. I do not believe that Tom Brady will be a member of the New England Patriots 1 year from now. And it pains me to say this, because Tom Brady literally represents everything that is good and decent and wonderful in this world, in this region, about that sport. He is New England, and I love that man more than I love almost anyone in my life. Outside of my immediate family, Tom Brady is the most the person I love the most. And I'm not saying that I believe the Patriots should get rid of him. If I were Bill Belichick, I would have traded Jimmy Garoppolo for a king's ransom. But all the signs point towards Brady being gone after this year. And I'm, like you, I'm one of those Patriots fans who likes to stick their fingers in their ears and go, la, 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 no, Tom Brady's playing forever, he's playing until he's 50, la, 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 I don't want to hear what you're saying, no. But it's not going to happen. Obviously, within the next 5 years, Brady won't be playing for the Patriots or probably playing in the NFL. I know he says he wants to play till 45, but that's very unlikely. So, at the most, even the most optimistic Patriots fan, even Tom Brady himself, will say 5 years from now, probably not playing. A lot of people will say 2 to 3, and they'll say, yeah, I'll give him that. But with Bill Belichick, it's commonly said, and it's true, he would rather get rid of a player a year too early rather than a year too late. That's just a fact. You go down, look through his history, through it being Lawyer Malloy, who he cut, who was one of the mainstays on that defense, replacing him with Rodney Harrison, and you look and you'll see Richard Seymour, who he traded for a first-round pick. Vince Wilfork, he let go a year early. He traded Randy Moss. He let go of Deion Branch, even though Branch came back. Welker was gone, even though he had one good year left in him, replaced by a cheaper Julian Edelman and Danny Amendola. Adam Vinatieri, guy who won you 3 Super Bowls with some of the most clutch kicks in the history of the game. He was let go, even though he's still kicking now, replaced by a younger, cheaper Steven Gostkowski. Now, I don't think money will be the issue with Brady. I don't think he'll leave over a contract dispute. But you look at the presumed successor to Tom Brady, and that'd be Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, if you want to use the time machine to go back 3.5 years, when the Patriots drafted Garoppolo, a very common soundbite and clip of that draft day press conference was the question was something along the lines of, Bill, what led you to draft a quarterback in one of the early rounds when you have Tom Brady? And Belichick responded with, we all know Tom's age and contract situation. Well, following the 2013 season, Brady had one of his worst years of his second half career. And the way I kind of break up Brady's career, it's not first half and second half by legit splitting the time, his first 8 years and his second 8 years. The way I split it is 2001 to 2006, even though it was only his first 5 to 6 years. But it was the seasons where he was obviously a Pro Bowl quarterback, obviously a great quarterback, but he was never leading the league in many statistical categories. It didn't happen to his 2007 season where he threw 50 touchdowns. He never had over 30. He was never lighting up the record books like Peyton Manning was. He was better than Peyton Manning. He was always great. But there was a time where the Patriots defense was really winning the championships, and Brady was being still there as a great quarterback, but the pressure wasn't completely on his shoulders. And then I split up his second half as 2007, when the team shifted from a defensive-minded team to an offensive-minded team. And then from that point, for the next 4 to 5 years, Brady was dragging teams to the AFC Championship game and to the Super Bowl. Whether it be taking that 2011 team, who had one of the worst defenses I've ever seen with my own eyes, with Sterling Moore and James Ahedebo and Julian Edelman playing in the secondary. And in all those years after, until we signed Revis and Browner, and Collins and Hightower develop, and we win a Super Bowl. But besides the point, at 37 years old, Brady was coming off 25 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Granted, his offensive line was shot, and Gronk was hurt, and he had limited weapons. But all signs are pointing to the arrow going down. And it looked like he probably had 2 or 3 more years, and he would decline even more. But obviously he didn't. And what I assume, if you want to get into the beautiful genius mind of Belichick, was that this past year would have been Brady's last year, and Garoppolo would be taking over by now. But obviously, Brady, I do believe drafting Garoppolo lit a fire under his ass. And it pushed this insane competitive maniac even more because he always says your job can be taken at any time. And for the first time, it actually was threatened. Not initially, but I think he saw the writing on the wall where we were bringing in a kid in the second round who looks pretty good. Within 2 to 3 years, he could take my job if I slip. But obviously he didn't. And this has given Bill Belichick the best problem you can have in sports. You have 2 really good quarterbacks. It's not if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none because both probably suck. It's no. You have the all-time greatest quarterback who at age 40 is somehow still playing the position at height that's never been played before. And you also have some 25-year-old stud who in limited playing time looks like to be the real deal. So, looking at this, if Belichick was sold that Brady could keep this up for the next 3 years to 5 years, he would have traded Garoppolo. Because Belichick, as I said, is not in the business of letting a guy walk for nothing, even if he can help the team. And right now, Garoppolo can't really help the team because you can only have one guy on the field at quarterback. Because if he was all about keeping a guy just for 1 year, he wouldn't have traded Chandler Jones to Arizona last year. If he was in the business of keeping a player just for a run, he wouldn't have traded Jamie Collins. And I know there were other circumstances surrounding that, but still, a Pro Bowl talent linebacker, you don't just give away for nothing. You didn't let him walk for nothing. He wanted to get a comp pick back. So I think anyone saying Belichick is keeping Garoppolo just because he wants insurance, just in case Brady goes down, I think you're talking yourself into something that's not there. It's not true. The only reason why Bill Belichick would not trade his backup quarterback for a first-round draft pick and more was because he believes that this young man can be the quarterback of this franchise for the next 10 years and do it at a near elite level. He's obviously not going to be Tom Brady. No one's going to be Tom Brady. He's probably not going to be Steve Young or Aaron Rodgers because those guys are also top 10 to 15 quarterbacks of all time and are some of the all-time greats. But even if he turns out to just be a top 5 to 10 quarterback in the league, that's a home run because you still have sustained success for the next 10 years. And obviously Bill Belichick won't say it because Bill Belichick doesn't talk during press conferences. But I believe, just my opinion, that if you said, Bill, would you rather have Tom Brady playing at an elite level for this season and maybe next year, or would you rather have Jimmy Garoppolo play at a top 10 quarterback level for the next 10? I think he'd go with a sustained success for the next 10 years rather than just have a few excellent shots at the Super Bowl for another year, maybe 2. And right now I find myself agreeing with Skip Bayless, who says some truly asinine things for clickbaits and titles. Everything I say, I firmly believe. And if I'm being honest, I would have traded Garoppolo. I would have called up Cleveland and say, 12th pick for Garoppolo, you got it. Then I would have taken that 12th pick and traded some more and turned that 12th pick into a late first rounder and another second or third and whatever. But that's not where Belichick's going. So you have 3 options right now. You still could trade Garoppolo. Obviously, quarterback injuries. Ryan Tannehill got hurt, but I doubt Belichick would trade Garoppolo in the division, although he did do that with Drew Bledsoe. But I think Garoppolo's different because he's still young, where you knew what you were getting with Bledsoe when he was hurt and into his 30s. But you'll wait for a quarterback injury, kind of like how Teddy Bridgewater went down last year, and Minnesota paid through the nose for Sam Bradford. So that's option 1. Option 2 is you wait out this year. Brady declines, as a lot of people are saying. Max Kellerman, probably number 1 in terms of the media, saying that he's going to fall off a cliff. And the problem's kind of solved, even though it's upsetting to see Brady go down. But at least you can move on from Brady and say, all right, it's his time to go, and we're bringing in Garoppolo. Or the third option is you pay a ridiculous amount of money to keep Brady and Garoppolo on the team together. And I do not think that Jimmy Garoppolo would be in the business of taking a hometown discount to be a backup. I know that he probably likes it here because he's playing under the greatest coaching quarterback, but I really think he wants to play now. And he had a chance to mature, and you've seen greats wait, and obviously I'm not saying Garoppolo is going to be a great, but you saw Rodgers and Young wait behind Favre and Montana respectively, but by the time they were 26, 27, whatever, they were playing. And Garoppolo will be 26 next year. I don't think he'll want to wait any longer. I don't think he'll give another year or two unless they pay through the nose with the franchise tag at $22 million. So that's kind of what you're going to have to come down to. And then Brady's going to really be scared because, wow, you really want this kid that much that you're willing to pay him more than me. So that's just something to keep an eye out for. We obviously never know because I've made many predictions, mostly about football, and they've been wrong. But the way I see it is I think Belichick will choose Garoppolo over the great Tom Brady, which is scary and sad, but you got to do what you got to do. And before I move on to my final segment, and I'm going to try to make these new podcasts under the new platform of Guy Boston, a little bit of, obviously, sports for the majority, but save the final 2-3 minutes for a little story time, little things about what I did, a little helping the world, saving the world, making kids' days, and just doing great things. But before I move on to that final segment, which you're not going to want to miss, one thing I've that really gets overlooked with Tom Brady, and no one really mentions it, Brady and Belichick for that matter, you look at a guy, the greatest quarterback of all time, unless you're freaking retarded, and you see 5 Super Bowls, but you dig deeper and you see between the years after the 2005 season to up until the 2014 season, so for 10 seasons, 9 years, whatever, there's actually 10 literal calendar years between the ages of 27 and 37, he didn't win a Super Bowl. I just think that's so overlooked and so unbelievable. Common knowledge says, and if you ask anyone within the world of sports and sports scientists and pundits and athletes themselves, what's an athlete's prime? 27 to 32. That's the 5-year span. That's the peak of a player's physical prime mixed with their being a veteran in the game and knowing the game more and being having a higher IQ in their respective sport. So not only during his prime, said prime, like what should have been his prime, he didn't win a championship, but the 5 years after that, what looks like the tail end of his career, he didn't win. So the fact that he won 5 Super Bowls in drastically different ways, the arc of his career has just been unbelievable. It's not an arc. It's literally not an arc. It's not up and down. It's literally starting at the highest point, dipping down a little bit, but never going fully down, and then going back up again. And it's just unbelievable. Like he's still in his climax. He's had 2 climaxes, and if he can win another 3 out of 4, my God, this is. I still think he's the greatest football player ever. I think he's the greatest athlete ever. But this really vaults him into the conversation with Michael Jordan and Babe Ruth and every other Wayne Gretzky. And it's just unbelievable. So that's just something I wanted to say. And now on to my story time. A story that will warm the hearts of the millions and millions of people who are going to listen to this. Because obviously they will. I went to the Red Sox game last Saturday, and I don't get the expensive seats, but what I do is I get in there, get my standing room seats, get the $9 seat student discount, no big deal, and then what you do is you kind of weasel your way up and sit in the front row or whatever, sit behind home plate in the first section, and I was there for about 3-4 innings until like 8:30, and then some hardo came up. It was like these two ladies, and they're like, "These are our seats. Like, you paid not 150, I wish, $300 to sit behind home plate, and you come an hour and a half late. But whatever, it's not my seats, it's your seats. You can do whatever you want." I get up, I leave, whatever. And then we go a different section, and then at the end of the game, people were leaving. It was late. It was an extra inning game. Eduardo Rodriguez threw like 175 million pitches through like the first 5 innings or 4 innings, whatever he did. He was pathetic. So many balls, so many full counts, whatever. But at the end of the game, I was sitting near the dugout, and this kid, probably about 10 years old, he was just getting all these balls thrown to him. Like the ball boy, I don't know if he had a little crush on the little kid, but the kid got 8 balls. He didn't catch them. It was just the ball boy getting like foul balls, giving him to the stands, and gave it to the same. He's like the only kid in the section. Gave the kid the ball every freaking time. Where it got to the point where he was sick and tired of getting so many balls that he was giving them away. He gave one to me and he gave one to the drunk guy next to him. The kid got 8 balls, he told me, in a game. 8 balls. It's unbelievable. And he didn't have freaking space to him. So he was probably going to throw him away. So I got one. So shout out to him. Really nice kid. So now I'm walking out and it's late and I take the train and I'm starved because, little side note, can you believe at midnight on a Saturday night following a Red Sox game, all quick restaurants, not like obviously like the fancy like bars are open and whatever, and Tasty Burger's open, but the line out there was crazy. But a McDonald's outside of Fenway Park is closed at midnight on a Saturday following a Sox game? That's ridiculous. So I was hungry and whatever. That's besides the point, but I'm just kind of disappointed. I mean, it's like in the city of Boston, like Red Sox, college town, my school BU right there. Like, my God. But whatever, that's besides the point. So I'm taking the train. It's a long-ass ride. Got to get back to the Orange Line. Got to get back to Malden Center. So getting off the train, and this kid walking out, clearly had all his Red Sox gear on, probably like 7 or 8 years old. Walking out, looked like with his mama and his grandma. And he comes up to me and he goes, "Wow, is that a game ball?" Because I was just like throwing the ball in my hand, like ready to go home, tired. It's almost like a little fidget spinner. That's what the game ball was. And he goes to me and I go, "Yeah, it is. It is." And he goes to me, he's like, "I've always wanted one of those." It felt like I was in like a movie. What was my first reaction? Guess what I did? Did I say, "No, kid, you can't have it, it's mine"? Did I do that to the little kid who was like 10 years younger than me? I was like, no, I wouldn't do that. I did what any good human being would do. Anyone who likes to make others' days better. What Target taught me to do. To make people's days better. Help people. So I went to the kid and I said, "You want it?" And he said, "Yeah." And his eyes lit up. And his parents and his grandma was like, "Thank you, thank you." It was his first Red Sox game. He really wanted a ball. And he really wanted one, and kid has a little glove on, he wanted it, and whatever. So I'm like, "Oh, no problem. So, and that kid's eyes lit up like a Christmas tree. I felt like I was like that guy in all those movies. Like I felt like I was Santa Claus, and the kid got his gift, and like in those movies, I don't even know what movie it is, but like the kid wanted something and he didn't get it, and then like the guy next door just said, "Oh, here you go, kid," and makes his day, and his eyes light up, and it's Christmas Day all over again, and it's the greatest thing ever. That's what I did. So last podcast, I talked about how I save lives, and I do that at Target all the time, but there's a little different story, a little heartwarming story to make your guy's day better, made this kid's day better. So shout out to him. Don't know his name, but hopefully he had a good time. Hopefully he has that ball framed and put in one of those containers that lights up, and who knows, maybe he'll bring it to the next game that he goes to and gets it autographed or whatever. That's what baseball is all about. It's about helping the kids. I'm not a kid anymore. I'm an adult, so I help the kids. That's it for this podcast. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great day.